So remember, as we do this tonight, we got to just put our hands in each other's hand. We need to leave our troubles behind. Don't look back. Let go of the past. Don't look back. Don't look back. Don't look back. The past is behind you. Your intention is to use time constructively. Your intention is to use time constructively. You want to use your time constructively for the relearning of what it means to abide in the kingdom of heaven. We want to use our intention to use time constructively. We want to use time constructively for the relearning to fulfill our function. Your happiness and your function are one. Your happiness and your function are one, but you got to remember to don't look back. Your function is healing, and don't look back. Your function is healing, don't look back. Your function is healing, and don't look back. Healing requires the presence of love. Healing requires the presence of love. Healing requires the presence of love. Healing requires the presence of the Christ self. That's the self of love. Only your true self can express the love that brings healing into being. Let's express the love that brings healing into being. I want to express the love that brings healing into being. Do you want to express the love that brings healing into being? Do you not want to express the love that brings healing into being? I want to express the love that brings healing into being. I want to express the love that brings healing into being. We want to express the love that brings healing into being. We want to express the love that brings healing into being. We want to express the love that brings healing into being. Let's bring healing into being. Healing into being. Let's bring healing into being. Healing into being. Our intention is to use time constructively and bring healing into being. Healing into being. So you don't have to believe any of these ideas. You don't have to welcome them. You don't have to accept them. Some of it's going to be hard to believe. Some's going to be quite startling. We're not here to analyze the ideas. We're here to use the ideas as a way of mastery, and it's the use of the ideas that will give the ideas meaning and will show you that they're true. We're going to be on page 60 in The Way of the Heart, page 60 in the section called The Keys to the Kingdom, lesson 5. The keys to the, those of you watching on the internet, lesson 5. The Keys to the Kingdom, page 60 in The Way of the Heart. That's where I'm going to be teaching from tonight. We covered the first 2 keys last week. I'm going to give a quick little recap of that. The first key is desire. So the first key to happiness is desire. The first key to happiness is desire. The first key is desire. The first key is desire. I'm going to do a lot of repetition. The first key is desire. Did I say the first key is desire?
No. Desire.
Desire.
We didn't hear you.
Desire.
Desire.
Was it desire?
Desire. And so the first key is desire, and so the review is So what do we desire? We should desire perfect union with God. We should desire to be Christ or love incarnate. We should desire to be all that our Creator created us to be. We should desire to be what we were created to be. So when I said, so what's really cool is, not only are we told that the first key is desire, then we're also told what desire we should have if we're really sincere about being happy. So I should desire union with my Creator. I should desire to be love incarnate. I should desire to be everything that I was created to be. I should desire to be as my Creator desired that I be. That's what, we're just hearing about what smart beings ask for. And I also would like a brand new refrigerator.
Yeah.
Okay. We were also told not to judge our desires.
Yeah.
When people get all spiritual, they don't want to ask for a refrigerator. Spiritual beings don't ask for those things. We're much too enlightened, aren't we? All right. The next thing in the key of desire is to recognize that nothing shall be impossible for you. And the reason why nothing, do you know why nothing should be impossible and has to be impossible for you? Because you're not the one that's going to do it. See, that makes sense to me. Nothing would be impossible to me if it wasn't my little ego that thought it was going to do it. And so it says, because you're not the one doing it, that's why nothing shall be impossible to you. If you think you're the one doing it, then it's going to be a lot of things that's going to be impossible for you.
Yeah.
So what is, by definition, what has been impossible for you? Everything you tried to do on your own. Okay? Then it says, feel your desire and don't suppress your desire. And then we're told God's will for you is that you are genuinely happy through and through. So it's important to recognize that that which created us wants us to be genuinely happy through and through, content, fulfilled, empowered, at peace, capable, and responsible. God's will for you is that you are genuinely happy through and through, content, filled, at peace, empowered, capable, and responsible. God's will for you is that you are genuinely happy through and through, content, fulfilled, at peace, empowered, capable, and responsible. Oh yeah. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I get it in my body and that I remember it. I'm not interested in being only awake from the neck up. I want it all in my cells. I want the truth in my DNA. In my DIA too. But I have to go to the airport. Okay. I will not be serious. I'm sorry. I will not be. That's how the Course in Miracles said we got in hell in the first place. Is that we stopped laughing and got really serious. You know. It's okay to be sincere, but screw being serious. It's enough serious, dead truth students. I tell you, sometimes you go to truth gatherings where the deadest people are located. Really, you can almost go to a nightclub, you can go to a football game, you can go, everybody's more alive than the people who are here to be joyful. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Well, what are you expressing? I'm expressing the joy of God. I'm so glad you told me. I wouldn't have known it otherwise. Thanks for giving me the heads up. Oh, yeah, this is cool, y'all. Okay, then the second key, what's the first key?
Desire.
Okay, the second key is intention.
Intention.
And intention is not what people think intention is. I intend to lose weight, I intend to study, I intend to, no, that's not what it's talking about. It says intention, the intention is to remember what you truly are here for. My intention is to remember what I'm truly here for. Then it says, and you are here, in case you're wondering, to be the light of the world. And that's the same as saying you're here to be a representation of the truth in the world. You're here to be a representation of what we're studying in the world. And it also says, remember, you are the thought of love in form. So you are the thought of love in a body. You're here to be love in a body. Okay. So it says, remember that you are one with God. Remember that God is the source of your reality. So when you say, I must remember that I'm one with God, all you're really saying is, I must remember that I am one with the source of my reality. I am one with the source of my reality. We're not talking about a personality in the sky arbitrarily punishing people for the way they dress. Which is what I was taught as a kid. You know, you wore your dress too short. Hell, you're going straight to hell. That's where you're going. Anybody else know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And it's like, I want to go to hell. That's where all my friends were going to be. I wasn't that hip. I really wasn't that into harp music, no way. I like bass. Okay. You know what I'm saying? The traditional perception of heaven sounds extraordinarily boring to me.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody else felt the same way, but it just felt boring to me.
Yes.
And there are some of us, now remember, you don't have to believe anything that I'm saying, and that makes us more open-minded. So don't think I'm trying to convert anybody. If you're here for the first time, you just landed in the Twilight Zone, it's okay, you're safe, everything's gonna be cool. If you are completely closed-minded, then I want you to be really peaceful about that. Feel good about wherever you are. I want people to be however they feel like being, okay? But I believe God is love. I'm siding with God being love. I can't deal with this fear for God stuff. I'm looking at the world as the reflection of people who have the fear of God. It's already had a chance to express itself. It's gotten plenty of opportunity to be the primary thought. And what I see is tremendous amounts of division and attack and fear and judgment. So I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go in the direction of not judging you, letting you be, giving you to your Creator, and trying to be what? The thought of love in a body. That's what I want to be. Also, it says that utilize time each day to focus your attention on the desire to be your true loving self incarnate. That's the Christ, your true loving self incarnate. So a person needs to utilize time each day to focus their attention on the desire to be the true loving self incarnate. I often ask people when I counsel and when I talk to them, what is your spiritual practice? What is your spiritual routine? Do you have a routine around your spirituality? Do you commit or dedicate a certain amount of time each day to the Way of Mastery or the Course in Miracles or the Bible, whatever your spiritual path is? Many times people tell me that they're going to do that after they take care of everything else. So they're doing it absolutely backwards. It's like if you focus in on God or the truth first thing in the morning, then there's a good possibility your day will go a lot smoother. If for no other reason, because you won't be freaking out about everything that happens, and so you'll have a more peaceful reaction to what happens. It doesn't mean that things might not come up. It means your reaction to them will be different if you focused on the truth. Then another thing that was said about the second key of intention is have the function of healing your sense of separation from all that is. That's one of my favorite terms for God, all that is. So what did I just say? Have the function of healing your sense of separation from all that is. So ask yourself just one question every day. Actually, it's 3. What do I desire most? What am I doing on this planet? What am I committed to? What do I desire most? What am I doing on this planet? What am I committed to? What do you desire most? What are you doing here? And what are you really committed to? As you keep practicing, this is really a great one from last week that I wrote down. As you keep practicing asking the question, the answer will become clearer and clearer. So the more you ask a question over and over, in other words, what do I desire most? If nothing comes to mind, you ask, what do I desire most? What do I desire most? What do I desire most? And then the way of mastery says, the question stimulates and gives birth to the answer. So the question actually gives birth to the answer. That's why we're being instructed to live in questions instead of trying to live in statements. Most people try to live in statements. I am wealthy, I am happy, I am free, I am, and the truth is telling us that actually you want to live in the question so that you can receive the answer. You know, what would it take for me to experience my abundance? What would it take for me to know peace in my life? What would it take for me to have a really fulfilling relationship? What would it take for me to know God of my heart? Because when you ask a question, then the universe can respond. When you talk in statements, you're not asking a question. So the more you ask the question, the more you will give birth to the answer. And when you ask unclear questions, it says you get unclear answers. So remind yourself of this. My intention is to use time constructively. And this is also on page 60 actually. My intention is to use time constructively for the relearning of what it means to abide in the kingdom of heaven, which is love, and to fulfill my function. So my intention is to constructively use time to relearn how to fulfill my function. And then it says, what is my function? Well, it says, my function is healing. What does healing require? It requires the presence of Christ, which is the presence of your true loving self. Then it says, for only Christ, your true loving self, can express the love that brings healing into being. So a person that's conscious knows that love is what brings healing into existence, and a conscious person knows that they are love and they want to express the love that brings healing into being. A conscious being knows that their function is healing. A conscious being is saying, my intention, since I believe in time, is to use time constructively. And I'm not using time constructively unless I'm using time to fulfill my function. What is my function? Healing. What does that require? The presence of my authentic loving self. Because only my authentic loving self can express the love that brings about the healing. So a fearful person is not in a state of mind that brings about the healing. A fearful person is the person who has a mind that needs healing. So fearful people are not the people who really are healing anything, which kind of points out what's going on the old planet Earth. I like that. We're getting a bunch of grunts and ums. I like that. I love it. Okay, so before I go into the third key, which is going to be mind-boggling, any questions or comments about the first two keys? Anybody seen my keys? Anybody here lost their keys?
Yeah.
So you all are clear. What should you desire?
Connection to the source.
Yeah.
That's right. And what should my intention be?
To relearn.
To relearn what?
Healing.
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 Right. And where does healing come from? Love or fear?
Love.
Okay, so therefore, then I need to get in touch with my authentic, loving self. One of the things I noticed in growing up in with the Bible when I was a kid was I used to be shocked that there were things that I saw in the Gospels that I never really heard ministers say very much. It used to always blow my mind. You're like, Jesus would always say, you know, basically, I'm paraphrasing, what I'm doing, you can do. Am I not mistaken? Then Jesus would say, you could actually do greater things in me. So now if you say you could do greater things in Jesus, people trip on you, right? As if somehow you're being sacrilegious when Jesus himself said, according to the Bible, that you could do even greater things. Another thing that I noticed when I tried to check it out for myself was that every time basically someone be healed, he would say stuff like, according to your faith, be it done to you. You know, according to your faith. And even though it's not really a lot of times talked about, there were people that he didn't heal because their faith wouldn't allow it. So that means if for some reason you've decided on a course of action that is around sickness or unhappiness, that until you change your mind about that course of action, then the universe can't change it for you, right? So you've got to make the decision to have the intention to use time constructively to get rid of your fear. And the Course in Miracles teaches that all healing is nothing but the undoing of fear, because everything that causes pain or sickness is some form of fear or guilt. So a true healer isn't focused on the form of sickness that you are going through. Like a true healer would not focus in on the fact that you have an extreme case of constipation. Okay, a true healer would focus on the fear that's creating it. A true healer never focuses on the form, doesn't focus on your headache, doesn't focus on your stomach ache, doesn't focus on the form. A true healer focuses on helping you release the fear that's producing the physical condition. Now, and the Course also says, if you can't heal yourself and you have attempted to heal yourself, you should stop trying. And you should temporarily believe in X-Lax. And aspirin. You follow what I'm saying? If you've been trying to heal yourself and you haven't been able to pull it off, then it says your faith is actually greater in something outside of yourself as the healer, or you would have already healed yourself. So you temporarily use external healing methods while you're still working on letting go of your fear with spirit. So you don't just sit back and still keep trying to heal yourself mentally when you're feeling worse and worse and worse, because that further convinces you that you don't have the power of healing within you. Pain draws your attention to your sense of weakness. So it would be much better to get rid of the pain, even if it means taking an Excedrin. You don't have to agree with that, but that really makes sense to me. You know, if you've been trying to heal yourself and you haven't been able to do it, then stop trying. Learn how to surrender to something greater than your own ego. And in the meantime, use what's available to help you get past the pain. That's what it says. You don't have to do it. Isn't that great to know we don't have to do anything we're being told? We're already experiencing the life that's the reflection of that, aren't we? Yeah, we're rebellious. God wants us to be completely happy. How do you rebel? By having a miserable damn life. Because you got to do just the opposite of what your Creator. If you're going to be rebellious, and your Creator wants you to have contentment, the only way you could rebel is to have a life that's just the opposite. So rebellious people are miserable people. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. But nobody's mad at you. The universe isn't mad at you. Nobody's out to get you. Matter of fact, nobody could do you in better than you do. Nobody's as committed. I'm certainly not thinking all day about how to make your life crappy, right? So really, nobody's more committed to your unhappiness than you are. We're too absorbed with our own situations. Isn't that right? I mean, most people are just too caught up in their own experience to be spending all day worried about what you're doing. People really don't, I don't have to break it to you, but people really don't think about you that much. In terms of what you're doing, how you're doing it, what you're saying, how you're dressing, where you're going. Because I always hear people say, what will other people think? And I always want to say, nothing. Because you're not that important to them. They're dealing with their own stuff. And the people that they are concerned about are who? The ones who are what? Most special. And those people are generally hoping that they'll take their attention off of them too. So what I'm saying to you is that ask to recognize that your intention is to use time constructively for the relearning of what it means to live in the reality of love and to fulfill your function. What is your function? Healing. What is healing? The undoing of fear. And healing requires the presence of Christ. What is the Christ? Your true self-love. And there's another statement in the Bible I saw that was a trip too. He says, basically, don't you know that ye are gods? You don't hear that one either.
No.
And when I was growing up, the three wise men, they said the three astrologers from the east. It was later on that they started changing all those references. You know what I'm saying? So it seems like sometimes in the revision of the Bible that there may be a personal agenda involved. I don't know. It just seems like it is. You know, like the more ignorant people stay, the more dependent you are on whoever's telling you what to do. So fear is a great way to control people, right? Yeah, so you make people afraid. They'll usually become conservative, contracted, and afraid to do anything new or different, and then look to someone else to take care of them. I have no desire to do any of that whatsoever. I need people walking beside me. If I'm a leader, then people are walking behind me. If I'm a follower, then someone's walking ahead of me. I want somebody side by side with me. I want you side by side with me. You see what I mean? And then, so right now we're going to go to the third key. And the third and fourth key is really intense. And so what I'd like to do is cover some material, stop, throw it open for question and discussion for a certain period of time, and then go forward. And so I would invite you not to ask questions before the question period. That way we get a chance to hear material and discuss, rather than spend the whole night discussing, okay? So it says, the third stage of the process, what kind of process? Whereby your mind is totally corrected and one returns home, is the stage of allowance. Now, the egoic world or fearful world does not teach you to allow. The fearful world teaches you to strive. You must be the maker. You must be the doer. Stuff like, God only helps those who help themselves. You must be the maker. You must be the doer. You must find a way to do what? Manipulate or control your environment, right? Why? In order that your environment conform itself to the image that you are holding in your mind. I'll say it again. You are taught to manipulate and control everything around you so that it will conform to the images you have in your mind. And all of that is well and good. And there are many beings that learn some valuable lessons by following the path of certain teachers that teach you what? That you can create whatever you want. There are certain teachers that teach you you can create whatever you want. That will seem like such a big deal until you realize that's what you're doing all the time anyway. You're always creating whatever you want. So you are always creating exactly what you decree. It is no big deal to create what you want. It is not a secret, even though it was called what? The secret. I remember when I first discovered it. I remember in April 1974 was when I first heard my thoughts create my reality. I read it in a book called The Nature of Personal Reality, a Seth book. And it was absolutely the best news I had ever heard in my life. You know, I was like, whoo, 23 years old. I was like, wow, I can create anything I could think of. Imagine a 23-year-old realizing that. And you know what?
What?
It worked. I created everything that I could possibly have imagined through my consciousness and my thoughts. And it said that there will be those who teach you, well, just go into your mind, ask yourself what you want, and what you see, and when you see that picture, for instance, of a Mercedes, then you simply do all these little magical tricks, right? I got my visualization map. I had that. I had a crystal ball. I had crystals. I slept under a pyramid because pyramid energy was real big back in the 70s. So I had my personal pyramid and what's weird about pyramids, you could put food under it, and if it was facing true north, the food wouldn't spoil. It was a trip. I mean, pyramid energy seemed to be really good magical energy that worked. You could look in the crystal ball, and then after a period of time, it would cloud up, and you could see images, especially around sunset. I'd come home from work. The wife would come in, give me to fix dinner. My wife said, I said, be in a minute. I'm finna go in and go look in the crystal ball. Now, I realized my wife was very understanding. Because she never ever ridiculed me or anything about anything that I was doing. She was Pisces. She could relate to mysticism whether she realized it or not. And I got to the point I could see stuff. And then I got to the point I could call up my mother and sister, and I say, hey, did y'all doing such and such a thing right now? And they go, whoa, how did you know that? You know. And then I got to the point if I looked at any shiny surface, I would start to see images. Because we don't realize we have inner senses, that we have abilities far beyond what we're being taught. We're very limited in what we think we are. And so since I was open to it, then there wasn't a block to me beginning to realize that. So my point is that it got to the point that it began to frighten me because I realized that I had not achieved the maturity necessary to handle that type of insight. So I asked Spirit to like cool that out for me. Because it got to the point I could see faces and I could see beings, and I was like, okay, hold it. A little bit too much. Need to cool this out because I need to work on my heart, my consciousness, and my mind. And so what he's saying here is true. You can visualize, you can focus on things, and you can release it, and you will draw it to yourself, and you will manifest. He says, and pretty soon you'll end up with the Mercedes. End up with a Mercedes and a Lexus, right? The problem with that, although it can be a useful stage, is that the intellect, the worldly part of your mind, can only desire what has been programmed to desire. Notice that all the things that I asked for was all the things I had been programmed to ask for. Just like he said. You know, we are told what we should want. We are told what kind of cars we should want. We're told what kind of houses we should want. We're actually consumers. We're like programmed to be consumers. So he says the worldly part of your mind says, well, I have to transport my body around in this plane. Automobiles do that. So the world tells me that a Mercedes is a grand way of doing this. Therefore, I will create the desire of wanting a Mercedes. When you manifest a Mercedes, you fool yourself into thinking that you have made great progress because you manifested a Mercedes. He says, in fact, all you have done is done what you've always done. You have chosen what your experience will be, and you manifested it. So what is it saying? It's saying you're doing it, and I'm doing it all the time. This day that you had was an experience that you chose, and you manifested it. The car you drive right now is a chosen experience that you're manifesting. Everything about our lives is a chosen experience that we're manifesting. We're always manifesting what we choose. and what we decree. What's a trip about it is obviously we don't always know what we're asking for. Okay, so there is nothing new about that. Although by so doing, he says, you can begin to do what's the benefit of learning how to manifest? He says that you begin to regain confidence in your ability to manifest. So if for no other reason, when you visualize something and you create it and it's something material or physical or the job or the weight or the house or the car, the only benefit of it is what? It allows you to regain confidence in your ability to manifest what you want. That's the only thing that's really cool about it. You learn your thoughts are creative, that your thoughts make things, that you can create through your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions. Whew, that's deep. So yes, it's okay to visualize more money. It's okay to visualize the body you want. It's okay to visualize that trip. But what the way of mastery is telling us is that just realize you're not doing nothing special. You always are manifesting what you focus on and what you believe. You just don't always realize what you're believing about yourself. So if your life, in your perception, is really not very enjoyable to you, then you are still doing what? You are choosing and decreeing that experience. And so you are experiencing it. So we clear about that? Whatever's in your bank account right now, you're choosing it.
No.
Whatever kind of, I know, as long as you say you're not, then you're just like everybody else in the world who believes that things are happening that has nothing to do with them and their own consciousness. There are only two types of people in the world. Those who believe that they're victims and those who believe that they are creators and responsible. Those are only two types. Most people go back and forth. I am the creator of some things, but I'm not the creator of other things in my personal experience. So if you're not ready to assume that level of responsibility, then you take it down one level, and it's very helpful. This is what you do. And you tell yourself you are creating the way you see it. That you're creating the way you see everything around you. Okay, so I personally go, I don't give a hoot what's happening to me. I created it. I don't know, I always understand why I created it or how I created it, but I created it. That's what I say about, I don't care what happens. I don't make anything an exception to that. All of it. I created it. It came from my consciousness. I decreed it. What's the advantage of that? If you do that, you're going to find that the drama in your life is going to take a radical drop. It will freak you out how much drama will leave your life if you take responsibility for your experience. That's the advantage of it. So he says the way of the heart is about something else. So let's get this straight. So the way of the heart is telling us, yeah, you can manifest, you can do the secret thing, that's fine. It helps you regain confidence in your ability to manifest what you want. But that's not what the way of the heart means by when it talks about allowance. It says the way of the heart is about something else. Allowance in this pathway means that you begin to view life differently. It means that it's not a struggle to get out of high school and create a career. I love this one. He says by which you can create golden coins. That's what he calls money. He says it's not about a struggle by which you create the proper house in the proper environment so that your ego feels successful and therefore you are now worthy of love. Because look at the house I've manifested, look at the money I've manifested, look at the career I've manifested, so I must be in God's favor, I must deserve everybody's love, look at how successful I am. He says, be honest with yourself. Is not your world built on such premises as these? If only I can make my life look successful around me, then I'll be accepted, then I can love myself at least a little. Maybe I can get other people to love me if I'm successful. That is not it at all. We're not talking about that at all. So this class is not about really how you can be more successful in the world. All you got to do to be more successful in the world is decree it. So the way of the heart begins with the recognition of what? That you are already loved by the only source that matters. That you have come here for a much higher purpose then can be made manifest in the ways of the world. You're here for a purpose greater than trying to impress yourself and everybody around you by the things that you manifested in the world. He says, you are here to manifest something beyond the world, not of the world. That's why, a lot of times classes like this will drop off after a few weeks, because many times when people come to classes like this, they just have a personal issue that they want to get handled in their personal world. Maybe they're having financial problems, maybe they're having a relationship problem, maybe they're not happy with their job, and so they come to these kind of classes to see if they can get some relief about a personal problem, more so than get in touch with the reason they were born in the first place and what their true purpose for being on this planet is for. That's why if I was doing a class on how to manifest your soulmate, probably more people would be here. Or you did a class on how to make more money, you see how many people show up at those seminars. Okay? But they don't know that if you fulfill your function, seek the kingdom first, everything else will be added to you. You'll have abundance in and abundance is a state of mind, by the way. It's not a material condition. It's a state of mind. An abundant person isn't worrying about money. But a person who has an abundant state of mind isn't worried about having a lover or a relationship. A person with an abundant state of mind isn't worried about their health. An abundant state of mind is a state of mind where you're not focusing on any kind of lack in your perception. You have none. So if you have no idea of lack, then you don't manifest lack, and everything that you think you need will always be there, because you don't have a consciousness that says anything is missing. But if you grow up being taught that when you're poor, you're more spiritual, and the less you have, the more spiritual you are, then you can't handle prosperity and abundance, and you begin to feel guilty about it, and you sabotage it. Because you've been taught that poor people are spiritual and rich people are somehow bad. Don't be a hater. Stop being a hater, okay? I just, it's like, I look, people always say, well, they might be wealthy, but they're not happy. I see a lot of poor people not happy either.
Yeah.
Let me suffer in the yacht. I suffer in the Caribbean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I don't mind. I don't know, forget that spiritualist poverty stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to let go of the spiritualist poverty stuff? Am I saying anything that resonates with everybody? Okay, I just want to check. I want to check it out. Okay, so allowance is the cultivation of a way of looking at the events of your life, not as obstacles to getting what you want, but allowance is you cultivating a way of looking at everything that's happening in your life as if it's a stepping stone. That means each event in your life, you're going to see it as presenting you with a blessing of the lessons required to heal the obstacles. Not to success, but you want to let go of the obstacles to the presence of love as the source and ground of your being. I'll say it again. When you say you're ready to allow at a higher level of consciousness, it's just you looking at your life as if everything and everybody that's in your life right now, they are giving you a lesson that heals the blocks to you recognizing the presence of love and your source within you. So if we were to leave here tonight and go, everything that's happening in my life right now is a lesson that's a blessing that's helping me remove every obstacle to my true power, then you would be looking at everyone and everything in your life correctly, and your grievances would go out the window and there wouldn't be anything to forgive. The only reason why you need to forgive anything is somehow or another you think it didn't benefit you and you think it hurt you. That's why you need to forgive it. If you're looking at it correctly, you'd realize that it's a blessing of a lesson that's required to heal any obstacles that keeps you from knowing the love that you are and the love you were created by. Boom. Okay, any questions or comments about this much of allowance?
Sounds like one big lesson in trust issues.
Well, love is trust. I often say to people, when you say you love me, you're really saying you totally trust me. And when you put it that way, you find out really quickly who you love. You can end back to, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I totally trust you completely. I totally trust you completely. I totally trust you completely. I have no doubt. I trust you 100%. I love you. That's what I love means. It's hard to trust people when you think you need them. And you think you're dependent on them. When you know you're whole and complete and you'll be okay any way it goes, you don't mind reaching out, exposing yourself, being more vulnerable, because my happiness isn't dependent ultimately on you anyway. So why shouldn't I go ahead and just enjoy the experience that we have fully? Even if you think you're going to cheat me, you can't cheat me. I'm the holy child of God. I am whole. I am complete. So there is no need I could have that wouldn't be met, and you certainly don't have the power to deny me what I need. So I'm not going to be checking all the time to see if you're taking advantage of me. You can't take advantage of me if I'm a conscious being.
But if somebody cheat on you,
I love but, because I mean, wipe out everything you just said. Anything whatsoever. Yeah.
if somebody cheat on you, and you say we're responsible for everything that happened to us.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
what?
I'm listening.
Like, I don't think anybody try to manifest somebody cheating on them.
Yes, they do. How do you know that? Because they did.
Yeah, but so how do I know, for example, what's the reason somebody does that? I mean, let's say, I'm not talking personally, I'm just asking a general question. What?
How do you know? Okay, the question is what?
If we manifest everything, I'm sure people walk around and don't say, oh, I want somebody to cheat on me, I want somebody to cheat on me. No.
So you're assuming that you are consciously aware of every
Yeah.
belief that you have, and every feeling that you have, and every thought that you have, and what's happening is, see, actually, let me say this another way. Cheating on you is a perception and not a reality. It's only cheating on you because you chose to interpret it as cheating on you. I could just as easily say, this was a blessing of a lesson that was required to help me heal some obstacle in myself that needed to be healed in order for me to recognize something about myself. I could just as easily say that was a lesson in love or truth that I needed to learn in some way. So loss is not loss when looked at it correctly. Loss is just a perception, because what one person calls a loss, another person will call a blessing. So loss is completely made up.
So if somebody loses a child, it's a blessing?
If a person is conscious and they recognize the truth, then everything that happens to them would be a blessing. It would be an opportunity for them to learn a lesson that was required to heal some block in themselves to keep them from recognizing the presence of love. If the child is gone, then you got two ways of looking at it. You can either look at it in such a way that takes you into greater pain, greater grievance, and greater misery, or you can ask for a way to look at it that you would be able to see that as somehow serving some type of a purpose that was helpful, healing, and loving. That's the only choice we got about anything that happens. Now, now my perception of it is, number one, you feel the feeling. You don't pretend you don't feel the loss. You don't feel like you don't pretend you don't feel the pain if there's a child that makes a transition. What would help the person who goes through that is to have another way to look at it. And what would help that person is for them to recognize that their child is not a body, that their child is a spiritual being, and that their child still lives even though it's not manifesting in a physical body right now, because we're all souls who are temporarily inhabiting a physical body to learn certain spiritual lessons that we've chosen, and then that soul chooses when it leaves here.
Right.
And it sometimes chooses to leave in ways that we don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't prove that, but also the other person couldn't prove that it was something that was the most horrible thing that could ever happen. So what I'm saying is the way that you look at something makes all the difference in the world about how you feel and how much peace that you have. I refuse to believe that an all-loving God creates us just to be here temporarily and maybe get hit by a car and die. That doesn't make sense to me. So I would much rather believe there's a greater plan at work that I might not necessarily have to understand.
Yeah.
So in any situation that you're going through any kind of loss, there's always another way to look at it that could give you more peace about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point in being angry at a fact. If something's happened, that's what is, it's happened. Then it becomes, and I've used this example. I was telling some friends of mine just the other day. Last week was the 5th anniversary of my sister making her transition in a house fire and my brother-in-law. And my sister and I were very, very close. What allowed me to go through that in any kind of a way of peace was what I've learned through these spiritual teachings.
Mm-hmm.
Her body is gone.
Mm-hmm.
She isn't here in the physical body. It gives me much more peace to believe that what this says is true. That she's more than a body, that she's a spiritual being, that her soul had to have that experience for whatever reason to go wherever it is she needed to go to next, and she still exists. I would much rather believe that than think that she was just a body that's ashes, that's gone.
Oh, yeah.
I can't prove it, but why do I think it's true that she lives on? Because it feels more peaceful and loving.
Mm-hmm.
Love would not kill. Love would not destroy. Fear would. So I'm going to side with love, which would be something that made me believe that my sister still exists. What she doesn't have right now is a body that allows her to communicate with us, because it's our bodies that allow us to communicate with each other. Right?
Right.
Just like the TV station is broadcasting right now, we are not watching any TV shows because we're not looking at our cell phone or TV. So is the TV show not broadcasting just because we don't have a television to watch it? No, but if your television was destroyed, you wouldn't see the TV show.
True.
My sister's the TV show. The body was the television.
Yeah.
The television is gone. The TV show is still broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
There's always another way to look at anything you're going through that could give you more peace about it, no matter how horrible it seems at the level of the world.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to. If you want to. So thanks for asking that. That's very common that people want to know about. What about people who mistreat me? Are you saying that I created that? If you don't have to accept that you created that if you're not ready to accept that you created that. Take it to the next level and say, I'm the one that's creating the way I'm looking at it, and I'm the one who's creating the meaning that I'm giving to it. Everybody can do it at that level. If you want to be free. Anybody else? Yes.
Kind of along the lines of what you guys were just talking about. So within the last few days, I had a very dear friend of mine that I haven't seen in a really long time, and I ran into just randomly out of nowhere. A few people were just like, "Do you know that like he's going through these problems and this and that, and you should really be like thinking like very like loving beings, just saying you should like put him in your prayers, or just he's going through a hard time." And I didn't really inquire or anything because that's I figured that it would come to me, and so he was in my thoughts. And then I ran into again like this time it was a fearful being. He was like, "Do you know he's gonna die? He's gonna die this week. He's gonna die. He's dead." Like, and just give it. And I just was like, I felt like no anger or sadness or loss or anything. I was just at peace with myself, and I was able just to be like, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. And then I happened to run into this gentleman because nobody's seen him, and he looked better than I'd ever seen him, and he's an older man, and he looked great. And I was like, "How have you been?" And he was like, "Not well, Sarah, not well." And I was like, "Well, I'm sorry to hear that." I'm like, "I'm here if you want to talk about it." And he goes, "I'll talk about it in a month if I'm still here, if you still see me." And I said, "I'll still see you, because I know that's not a lie. I'll see him in a prison at some point."
We all know the truth. We all know the truth. We're just hypnotized, mesmerized, programmed, and have forgotten. All of us in our deep soul know that life has to be more than what we're seeing. It would just, it's like God or the Creator would have to either not exist or be a total psycho. Those are the two choices if you're coming from fear. Either there is no God, or God's crazy, or we're crazy, and there is a God. and the higher power wants to help us get past our insanity of separation and fear. I vote part two, that we're the ones who are looking at things in a totally insane, unaware way, that we do have an infinite intelligence that's willing to help us get past our misperceptions if we are willing to be wrong about the way we're seeing things. But as long as we want to be right about the way we've got it set up, then we can't receive the assistance at a level we can use it. So people say, well, how do you know there's a God? If you really want to know there's a higher power and you're sincere about that, you will be given the experience that will validate that. If you're a person that basically don't believe it and don't want to believe it, there is nothing anyone can do that will validate the reality of a higher power for you. So the bottom line is, if you want to believe you alone and on your own and have the hellacious, fearful life that goes with that, there will be nothing in the universe that will interfere with that, because you're free to choose what you want to experience. If you're unhappy in some area and you made the decision that you're willing to be wrong about the way you're seeing things, if you're miserable, then you'll get all the assistance and support you can possibly imagine to change your mind about it. Bottom line is, it's up to you and what you want. Because if we create from our thoughts and you've made the decision that that's not true for you, it will seem like it's not true for you. It will look just like you're alone, there is no God, and that you are autonomous, self-sufficient, and got to make it by yourself. So my classes are because I want a relationship, a conscious relationship with my source God. That's why I do classes. I want to know how to communicate with the higher power. That's why I do these classes. It's not about trying to be more comfortable in the world. This is not what Course in Miracles is about. That's not about what my class is here about. I want a relationship with God. I want to know what my true function is and why I'm here. And I want to be love in the body. And I want to get rid of everything that keeps me from being a loving being in the body. That's why I come to these classes, and that's why I teach them. And they will only have value to somebody who wants the same thing. Not someone who wants an aspirin for a temporary fix that they're upset about something that happened at work that won't mean a hill of beans 50 years from now. Because your peace will not come from any of those external situations being handled. Your peace is going to come from what? What he says? Be in the presence of love. Allowing yourself to be a conduit for the truth to come on this planet. If there's going to be light and healing on the planet, it's got to come through us. And you have to make that decision. And when you make that decision, everything in the universe supports you. The Course says you will actually be given what you need to stay. That spirit knows that the illusion that you think you're on, that you need money, you think to pay a bill or whatever, that'll be given to you one way or another. The once you decide you really want to be about something more than your fantasies of material things, because it's okay to have them since you can manifest them. And Mercedes is no different from a Volkswagen. It's just another illusion. you know, a one-room house is nothing different from a 30-room. It's still an illusion. So yeah, you don't have to have poverty as you define it. Have all the stuff that you want, but just really want to let go of your blocks to knowing your relationship with God. Okay, I'm gonna take one more, and then we're gonna push
Yeah,
forward.
I was just gonna say, the fact that these teachings, of Course in Miracle, and this work,
Mm-hmm.
for me, why would I want to doubt what, you know, every time I employ it, it works, okay? So why would I want to, like, doubt the rest of it that I haven't yet tried?
I hear you,
I mean,
brother.
You know, I mean,
I hear you,
what the
brother.
world tells me doesn't work.
You already see that.
You know, the materialistic viewpoint of materialism doesn't work for me. This does work. So why would I want to cut it short and say, well, it's only worked so far. I bet you it doesn't work in the future. You know? I mean, that's shooting myself in the foot.
I totally, but see, what we have to do is admit that there is a part of me that doubts, that fears, that doesn't know. And that's what they call the ego. And that's the part of me that the truth is undoing.
Right.
The part of me that does doubt and fear is the part of me that is doubting and fearing. That's the part of me that's sitting up in the chair trying to doubt it, trying to question it. And it's okay to question, but just understand that the fearful mind is only asks questions, but it can't perceive meaningful answers. So the same mind that questions is the same mind that when you give it an answer, it doesn't connect. You know, because if that mind has already made up its mind that this is a bunch of crock and it doesn't work, and they're trying to defend their old fearful perception, they don't really want an answer that will get them out of conflict. They really want to keep their fear going because they know how to live a fearful life. They know how to be doubtful. They know how to be suspicious. They know how to not trust anybody. They know how to be insecure. They know how to hold back their love. And so this is the most threatening thing that a frightened mind could possibly hear. So the frightened part of our mind would have to defend staying really, really, really limited and restricted in the way that it expresses itself. Because love requires openness and vulnerability. And that's what most people are afraid. That's what they're most afraid to be. Is what? Trusting. They want to. It's easier for me to believe I got to watch out for all of y'all because y'all might hurt me. I don't know how to walk in this room and approach each one of you as if you are me and a sacred being. But I do know how to walk in the room and act like I'm in a room of strangers and don't talk to anybody and then wait for everybody to walk up to me and say something to me. And if they don't say something to me, I walk away and say that wasn't a very friendly group. But I was the one who wasn't friendly. I was the one who wasn't giving any energy to anybody. The only thing that's ever missing in any situation is what you are not giving. That's the only thing that's ever missing in any situation is what you are not giving. Okay, gotta go on.
I just want to say something. It's not a question. I just say, if as children, we all study this, you know, all this fear and ego is going to be so easy to not even deal with. If children born and, like, I don't know, 10 years old start to study this in school, it's probably make a better generation.
I would say so. I wholeheartedly agree because perception is the result of learning. So the way a person sees things is really based on what they learn, right? So if you learn something different, you perceive and behave. You absolutely. I agree with you totally. That's why I'm doing this. I'm doing my own personal brainwashing.
Right.
I'm not waiting for anybody else to do it. I tried the fearful world way. And you have too. I'm going to keep on saying it. You have tried it too. You've all tried it. You all know what suspicion and fear and anger and grievances feel like. You got to let your mama off the hook. You got to let your fathers off the hook. You got to let your childhoods off the hook. None of it can serve anymore. It just brought you to the point you're at today. It can't serve anymore. It can't be used as an excuse anymore. You can't use it as an excuse anymore. It won't work. Sorry. You know you're stronger than anything you went through in your childhood because you're sitting here today. So you survived it. You can't use it anymore. If it had really been the worst thing that could ever happen to you, you wouldn't be here. So you were stronger than whatever you went through as a child. And most of us didn't grow up with parents who would say, you're the sweetest, most joyous, most pure thing that ever lived. Most of us didn't. There's so many children hearing that now, much more than the children have ever heard that before.
Yes.
And the funny thing about it is sometimes they seem like the most psycho children I've ever seen. So anyway, you know, it's really funny if you really think about it. You know, I see parents bending over backwards, killing themselves for their children.
Yeah.
I can't think of 4 things my whole childhood that my mother and father came to. And you have parents now, my children never had any big event that I didn't go to their entire life. And I know friends that are doing that with their children. And their children don't appreciate it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But when my parents came, it was a special deal to me. It's like, whoa, my mama coming to my place. These kids nowadays, yeah. So I don't know I believe children inherit most from themselves. That they are souls who come here with their own lessons to learn that have nothing to do with how good a parent you are, other than you need to be authentic as you can be truly who you are, as loving as you can be, and that's the best thing you can do for your children. You are not responsible for how your children turn out. Your children are going to turn out the way your children choose to turn out, because they're just as old as you are. Their bodies are just younger. They've been around just as long as you. That's why you see 4-year-olds playing concertos. You think they just learned to do that at 4 years old? No. Yeah. You think we got this screwed up in one lifetime? Come on. I loved it. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. In your gut, you know it's true. In your gut, you know it's more to this than what you've been taught. Don't let being an adult kill you and freeze you. You know, don't, because you're older now, be frozen. Stay open. Stay open. Don't be encased in your self-concept in your past. Melt it. Melt your self-concept that you built up over all these years. It needs to be melted. It's encasing you. I've always been quiet. But you don't have to be quiet no more. I never dance. You can if you want to. Come on. Earl. So, in the stage of allowance, we begin to cultivate what? An acceptance of all things in our experience. We begin to see that because we have made a commitment to awakening and incarnating only Christ, which you could say my true loving self, if you got a problem with the word Christ, the universe is already conspiring to bring the people and events into our lives on a moment-to-moment basis that can best provide us with exactly what we most need to learn or become aware of. And I said it again. What did he say? When you make the commitment to your awakening, then you recognize that the universe is already conspiring to bring the people and events into your life on a moment-to-moment basis that can best provide you with exactly what you most need to learn and become aware of. So that means all the people that are in your life and the events in your life that are coming up on a moment-to-moment basis are the people and events that can best provide you with exactly what you most need already. So there's everybody in your life are exactly the perfect people that you need in your life right now to become everything you've always wanted to be. That includes us. So don't feel disgusted. That means everybody that's already in your life, those people are in your life, and they're the best ones to provide you with exactly what you need for your own awakening and spiritual growth. If I believed that, I'd be so thankful for all my friends and associates and everybody in my life. Instead of going, how can I have somebody even more exciting? And so he says, and so messengers are sent. He said the messenger can come in the form of somebody you fall in love with. And there is something there for you to learn. He said the messenger, he says it could be that you have been blocking yourself from feeling love for other people, and now someone finally comes that blasts down the door, and you can't help but feel that feeling. You know what I'm talking about? Some people show up, you can't help but feel that feeling. Even though you're trying not to, I will not fall in love. I will not fall in love. I won't do it. I won't, damn, I'm in love. I won't, damn. Y'all looking at me. So what's that saying? Your true love messenger is not somebody you can hold back your love from. Your true love messenger is going to be somebody you can't help but love. You can't stop yourself from appreciating. Then he says, now, there's another kind of messenger. This messenger could be someone who comes as a grain of sand within the oyster that causes the friction that within you that nudges you from your sleep, and you realize that you have been operating out of some very dysfunctional patterns and that you have got to get a better grip upon the truth of who you are. So some of your messengers are going to be people who irritate you to get you in touch with some dysfunctional patterns. And if you have a lot of dysfunctional patterns, you got a lot of irritating people around you. That's deep, isn't it? Because I thought I was the cool person with all the irritating people. The truth is, all the irritating people is there because I'm so dysfunctional. I don't like that. It may be that you need to learn to express your feelings more. It may be that you need to accept your own creativity more. So through these messengers, through your messengers, that which causes you to finally be responsible and be honest about where you are will be brought up within you. So in other words, whatever you're in denial about, someone will be sent to you that causes you to get more honest about what's really going on within yourself. And the more you're in denial about yourself, then the more you're going to get the messengers that bring up the irritations that get you in touch with your dysfunctions. So the more you lie, so if I just go and say, Holy Spirit, hey, universe, I'm dysfunctional, then I don't need a whole lot of people to show up to show me I'm dysfunctional. And so then the healing process can start. I can get the one who come toward me that I go, ooh, I can't help but love you. But the person that sits up and goes, I'm really nice and conscious and I don't have any kind of anger or upset, and everyone else is the problem, and they just be more like me. The world would be you finna get some irritating messengers. You got some irritating messengers on the way, so that you can get in touch and stop lying to yourself and admit to yourself you have some unconscious fear and guilt that you need to let go of. That's all you have to admit. For instance, if you think, well, I'll never get angry anymore. After all, I'm a very spiritual person. He said, I'm just out of the seminary. And I know it all now. So I'll just live in heavenly bliss, he says, and events begin to happen. Perhaps for an example, a gay couple moves into your neighborhood, and you discover that you have some very deeply seated perceptions that there is something wrong with that particular sexual orientation. These people are messengers sent to you by the universe to push you to look more deeply. Allowance, then, is the cultivation of a quality of awareness in which you rest in the recognition that your life is no longer your own to dictate and control, but rather you have given your life up and over to the source of your own beingness. You've given your life over to that depth of wisdom in the depth of the ocean that knows best how to bring about what is required to push up the dross from your consciousness so that you can release it. So when you really wake up, you recognize that I've surrendered my ego up to something greater than me. I'm giving it up to the part of me that really loves me, and I'm going to let it bring to me what's best for me to heal and to love. Control freaks hate this type of life. Fearful people hate this type of teaching because fearful people think they have to be completely in control of every aspect of their experience when they don't even know what they're trying to be in control of. So what happens? What happens is you eventually give yourself one situation after another situation until you get to the point that you're willing to surrender to the idea that you are willing to let that which truly loves you start to teach you and be in control of your life. And that's what you deserve. To have the party that's not the scary part, that's the part that's guiding you, but the loving, sane, conscious part. Let that part guide you. So the part that doesn't know what the hell is going on, that's upset about everything, that shouldn't be your leader. You deserve love. And you'll eventually do it. That's what I love about it. Everybody in this room is going to eventually choose for love and their peace. Some people just have more tolerance for pain than others. And that's okay. It's cool. You have as much time as you need. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to this much Holy Spirit. Woo! Lord have mercy. I'm so grateful that you've been sent into my life as messengers that present me with the best opportunities I could ever have to get rid of any of the blocks to God and love. That's who you are. We are so blessed. So let's do the financial expression of appreciation. I'm going to do a quick recap, and then we're going to head out into the lab in just a minute. I'm a full-time teacher of this material, so I appreciate your sharing with me. Thank you online. Those of you who'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, just go to my website, earlpurdy.com. And I'm also available for one-on-one healing sessions called clarity sessions. Go to my website. It explains everything about it, and I can work with you personally. And your problem isn't original. It's not a new issue, whatever it is. So let's heal it together. And go to my website and sign up for the contact list so I can send you a link in the email to these videos whenever I post them, so that you can look back at the class, because it's repetition that does the healing. Repetition that does the healing. Repetition does the healing. Repetition does the healing. Also, Sunday at 1 o'clock is a course in miracles from 1 to 2. So I'd like to ask you to just close your eyes for a minute and just relax for a second and allow yourself to just hear this. I appreciate the questions today.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Because whatever you say or anybody says, it's always what somebody's thinking or somebody's wondering about. The people online get most irritated about people in this class not asking more questions. It's, damn, I wish I was there. There's so much I want to ask you. Why don't they ever ask you anything? I said, no, that's okay. It's all cool. Said, we know, so it's no need for y'all to ask anything. But you got over 17,000 friends that's also tuning into this every month. And I'm getting tremendous responses from people who are really changing their mind through the Holy Spirit within them, through listening to what the Holy Spirit within me is doing with the Holy Spirit within them.
Hey, Rob.
Yes.
I just want to say about the power of the group. Just that sometimes, when we get together like this, of a like mind, we can't help but rise up into the answer layer of consciousness. So sometimes it's hard to ask questions when you're in the group. You think about it in the car on the way home when you're but in the group, we kind of join to the level of the answer. That's why we come here.
And that's absolutely, that's fine with me. That's fine with me.
But also in the next statement, I may have a question, but the next statement you make answers the question for me.
Right.
So I've already enveloped that, and there's no need for me to ask it again now.
I hear you. It's almost as if the material, and I noticed it with the Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery, it's almost as if it anticipates what you're going to ask. So if you just keep moving forward, the answer always is revealed.
Right.
That's been my experience. And because we're in a fail-safe system because there's an infinite intelligence that's behind this. So I would assume it already knows everything we're going to do
Yeah.
and every possible reaction that we're going to have. And so we are loved. We're in school. We're off at school. And what we call death is you going home. And that's it. This is where we're at. And we could have total peace and bliss right here. A lot of people have the best time in their life off at college. You know what I'm saying? So because we're in school doesn't mean we can't be happy learners. But we must not forget that this isn't where we came from. And these are our spacesuits. And sometimes we fall in love with each other's spacesuits. You know what I mean? And we forget the content because we're so focused on the form. You know. And you're getting beyond that now. You're really wanting the people in your life to really be about something. And so that means you want to be really about something. Okay, here we go. You are now in the third key. Manifesting is no big deal. You can manifest whatever you want to on the physical plane. It's no big deal. There's nothing new about it. But the way of the heart teaches that allowance means that you're beginning to view life differently, life differently, life differently. Be honest with yourself. Allowance means that you begin to view life differently. Begin to realize that you are already loved by the only source that matters, that you have come for a much higher purpose that can be made manifest in the ways of the world. But it's not of the world. Allowance is cultivating a way of looking at everything in your life as if it's a stepping stone to getting what you want. Cultivate a way of looking at everything in your life as if everything and everybody in your life is a stepping stone to getting what you want. So when you walk out of here tonight, tell yourself that everybody in my life is a stepping stone to getting what I want. And I am a stepping stone to helping them get what they really want, which is the fulfillment of their purpose and a healing of all fear. So, allowance is allowing God to be in control of your life. Allowance is allowing God to be in control of your life. Allowance is allowing God to be in control of your life. Allowance is allowing God to be in control of your life. Allowance is allowing God to be in control of your life. I allow God to be in control of my life. I allow God to be in control of my life. Will you allow the Creator to be in control of your life? Will you allow love to be in control of your life. God is love. God is love. Love is God. Love is God. Allowance is allowing God to be in control of your life. Allowance is submission. Allow certain things to fall out of your life. Allow certain people to fall out of your life. Know that you live in a world, and that the world is just a field of vibrations and energies. The world is just a field of vibrations and energies. Everything is just vibrations and energies. So allow certain things to just fall out of your life. Allow God to be in control of your life. That's allowance. That's allowance. Mighty companions, may the course be with you. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Can we really give it up for us with some real enthusiasm? Yeah. Look at all these great, beautiful stepping stones. So don't forget to sign up for the contact list, either here tonight or go to my website so that you can receive the links to the videos that I'm doing of the classes so you can watch them again. Or just go to my website, earlpurdy.com. I love you all. Hugs are available.
All right.